Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Binsack. It is November 26th, 2017. Yes, I have to look at the date. I always forget the date. Welcome to MFA News. Tonight, I'm going to get caught up on some serious planetary changes going on and talking about some robotics going forward and a little bit from somebody I believe is a true time traveler. I know that may sound a little crazy to some people, but it matches a lot of things that I have been discussing over the past year and what's going to be happening with this planet between now and, we'll say, 2025. No later than that for all of these changes to come about. I was going to do a Vegas show tonight. I'm not going to do that until next weekend because some new information has come up, and I'm going to leave it at that. And I will be back roughly in a week to Vegas for a couple of days. But I got to go to New York before that because I want to investigate what's going on with some serious stuff going on in New York City. They are planning for something major in New York, and that's my home turf. So investigating there is going to be easy, and I already have a lot of information to bring you live from New York about what's going on there. And they're preparing for a major event, as some major cities across the U.S. are as well, including Miami, New Orleans, Houston. You're going to see a large, rapid ice melt over the next 24, 36 months. I mean heavy, fast. Rapid ice melting, not like to give an inch extra, but inches extra. As we speak right now, they're one of the strongest storm to hit on the planet is hitting, and no one's talking about it. And I'm going to go over that with you as well, and some other information. You will see tonight. I will go over all of it. Okay? Questions at the end, please. For those who this will be uploaded to YouTube after this is being shot to the private MFA exclusive underground. We are soon releasing our major forum. I'm happy to say there was a video done to the group earlier. If you have not seen it, please watch it. As well as MFA underground agreements must be signed by December 1st. They're pinned to the top of our private group. I also showed off some of the coming soon pages on our new websites and what's coming. Yeah, East Coast, West Coast, Chicago, all the Finger Lakes are going to eventually be one massive lake. Trust what I tell you. Body of water. And it's not funny, actually. I want to go over this with you quick. It is from James Munder. He's put it up. Strongest storm on Earth heading to Alaska.
A severe weather alert happening in Alaska. There is the powerful Bering Sea storm produces 90-mile-an-hour winds in Alaska.
Now, you may say 90-mile-an-hour per winds is nothing. That's not why it's the largest storm. Pay attention, okay? We'll get to that in 1 second.
Alaska's Aleutian Islands. We got a video here. Let's play it.
This is not only an incredible satellite image, it's also an incredible storm, a real powerhouse. In fact, what you're looking at here is the strongest storm on Earth. Early Sunday, we're talking about 944 millibars.
944 millibars. If you understand how hurricanes and storms work, 944 millibars is massive. Okay? Massive. This is the largest storm on record right here. Alaska storm last 12 hours. Not even on mainstream media. Okay? Not even on mainstream media. And you think they want to tell you what's going on? Okay? Forget the wind speed. Listen to the millibars.
That's the pressure of this storm system, so it's extremely intense. In fact, it dropped 55 millibars in 24 hours.
It dropped 55 millibars in 24 hours. Massive. The pressure. Massive, massive pressure.
What it's doing here, spinning here near Alaska, bringing some extremely strong winds here to the Aleutian Islands. Some of these winds, 90 miles per hour. We could see some gusts stronger than that. Also, extremely rough surf coming in across this area. Now, as we look to mainland Alaska, while we are seeing some winds, they're not seeing those incredible winds that we're seeing here on the islands. But we'll continue.
The reason why I'm showing you this now is because I'm going to go into something else that was brought up. And I've been trying to tell everybody that our poles are shifting, okay? And a lot of this weather events are being created by this magnetic pole shift, not our government. The government is feeding a lot of these storms, some of the other ones to direct them in certain areas, okay? That is true. However, a majority of, like all the volcanoes, a majority of the earthquakes, the crazy storms and all the like, okay, and there's a big surprise coming for the planet, and I'm going to get into that shortly. This is being caused by a magnetic pole reversal. And I'm sticking with that, and I will stick with it until until it's just going to continue to happen. And people will say, whoa, Scott, you were right, okay? People got to stop with the conspiracies on HAARP and this and that, okay? I want everybody to stop with HAARP and this and that. I'm going to say this again. A majority of these large storms, volcanoes, and rampant uptake in earthquakes, which are going to get worse in 2018, are not from HAARP. Okay? Not from HAARP. This planet, is going to say it again, is going through a magnetic reversal. If you watch some of my older shows from about 4 or 5 months ago, I went into deep information about the poles shifting, the magnetic poles shifting, and the like. Okay? Bali is blowing up. We reported that was going to blow, sometime a month ago, knew that was going to come and blow. Okay? Now,
continue to monitor these winds in the days to come, and we will see this system moving away, but there could be another storm coming in right behind this one.
All right, a rapidly intensifying storm has brought wind gusts in excess of 90 miles an hour to Alaska's Aleutian Islands this weekend, while also presenting spectacular views on satellite imagery. The storm easily met the criteria for what meteorologists call bombogeneous, which is the atmospheric pressure drop of...
Pay attention. This is what I'm talking about. The storm easily
in 24 hours.
The storm easily met the criteria for what meteorologists call bombogenesis, which is an atmospheric pressure drop of 24 millibars in 24 hours. You ever seen the movie The Perfect Storm, where the storms all come and the pressure all drops? That's what's going on this planet, okay? This is why we're doing Survival Group. This is why we, not just for the weather events, but political, financial, and the like. Life on this planet is going to continue to get horrible. And no, it's not too late. Okay? People don't understand. Okay? This planet has survived many, many things, as has species, and we are one of those species. Okay? This is not a game anymore. Okay? If you think, joking around about hurricanes and what we've already seen and earthquakes and volcanoes, they're going to keep getting worse. I predicted for the past 12 months where we are currently with weather events. And anybody who's watched me for that long knows that is correct. So, the Earth is going to continue to slow its rotation. So when you get this type of pressure drop within 24 hours, this is atmospheric, okay? This is no joke.
In general, a lower atmospheric pressure correlates with a more intense low pressure system. Here we go. Notice what's going on in this picture. I don't even think I have to point it out.
Look at that.
Let's keep going. In the case of this weekend's storm, the pressure dropped an incredible 55 millibars in 24 hours. That's a lot. 1,002 millibars, 10 p.m. Friday, Alaska time, to 947 millibars, 10 p.m. Saturday, Alaska time. The pressure reading continued to drop and was at 944 millibars as early as Sunday. making it the strongest storm on Earth based on pressure at that time.
Boom. Not even hitting mainstream.
This map, do with it what you will.
He's funny, this guy. No,
Wind gusted up to 92 miles an hour and 91 miles an hour at Akka Island and Adak Island, respectively, as the storm swept into the Bering Sea late Saturday and early Sunday. The winds on Atka Island gusted in excess of 70 miles an hour, at least once per hour for 12 consecutive hours. The National Weather Service said waves up to 50 feet were expected to accompany.
Waves up to 50 feet were expected to accompany this storm. 50 feet. This is a superstorm, even though the winds are low. Okay? 92 mile an hour winds. I mean, that's not, they're high, but that's not super high. It's the millibars and the water that's coming with this thing. Okay? Now, if we go to Mr. MBB333, I like this guy, and I like the information he puts out, and I've used it before. He's reporting about what's up in space, and I want you to see something here on the front of my screen where my mouse is here. Change of magnetic storms. Do you see this right here? And this is right off spaceweather.com. NOAA forecasters say there's a 50% chance of a G1 class geomagnetic storms on November 27th when a narrow stream of solar wind is expected to engulf Earth. Arctic skywatchers should be alert for aurora. Okay? A local geomagnetic storm space weather forecast and aurora chasers love to talk about the planetary K index, blah, blah, blah. Pay attention, because I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to play this video quick. It's only 3 minutes. And I want this goes with magnetic pole shifting.
November 26th, 5:50 p.m. Mountain Time, 2017. Here at spaceweather.com, I want to talk about a story that came out yesterday from Abisko, Sweden, an event that took place up there on the night of November 24th. It was witnessed by a man by the name of Oliver Wright. He is a seasoned aurora chaser, and on this night of the 24th, he wasn't expecting to see what he saw right here in this picture, and it's an absolutely beautiful display of aurora borealis. However, they shouldn't have been there according to the numerical values.
Exactly.
Two things have to happen in order for these things to appear. That's the KP index needs to be usually at a 5, and at the time these appeared, it was at a 0. The interplanetary magnetic field, the BZ, has to be pointed south. It was pointed north. And I can go back.
Pay attention. Nothing's pointing and happening the right way because the poles, the magnetic poles, are shifting. And this just came out. This is today.
This is the 26th. Let's go back in time to the 24th. And the BZ was pointing north.
Now that's a normal.
At a particular time here, this was a 24-hour reading, but he was saying that the BZ was 0 at the time. The pictures you're seeing here on the spaceweather.com time machine are from the 22nd. And the reason that these auroras are pink is because they are dipping so far down inside of the atmosphere, striking the nitrogen molecules.
Exactly.
Which they don't normally do either. That's like extreme.
Pay attention. They normally don't strike that low, okay? They do not normally strike that low. And this has been building and building because the magnetic poles are shifting, and I'm telling you now, world governments know, okay? World governments know, and they are going to try. I'm telling you, you will see this come out probably over the next year. You will see that they are going to try to create a man-made pole point, okay, with a man-made magnetosphere to stop the pole from shifting, the magnetic pole from shifting. But by the time they try to do this, you will see many planetary changes, and nothing says that they'll be successful in doing it. Okay. People need to be very prepared because this year, 2018, and I'm doing a whole special show on 2018 on what I believe is going to happen, and we'll see. But
low, and they were very surprised by that activity as well. But this activity here that you're seeing, I'm just going to keep this video brief because it's an anomaly. They're kind of explaining it in the story that they're saying that a local meter showed that there was a disturbance, a strong geomagnetic storm disturbance type value was detected in a town called Krina, which it...
No, this is not CERN, what you're seeing here. Okay, this is not what CERN is about. I've done many shows for new members in here on CERN and the like. They're on this. If you go into the video feed, and if you guys say, please save your questions for last so I can get through all this, then I'll be happy to answer all your questions. But I've done many shows on CERN.
Is right close to where this event took place, and it showed a KP7, and everywhere else was a 0. And what this reminds me of is this, and I'll close on this. It's like a bright sunny day where you live, not a cloud in the sky anywhere. But all of a sudden, a thunderstorm erupts right over your house. And not just any thunderstorm. It's got lightning, high winds, and hail, and heavy rain. And there's not a cloud in the sky. And it's only over your house. And you got to ask yourself, how does that happen? What you're looking at right here, that's the same thing that basically happened here. These weren't supposed to happen, and they did. Very unusual, and that's something we're going to keep a close eye on, and we're also going to be watching for more of these. That's very unusual as well.
So, we have a major storm that was taking place up in Alaska. We have geomagnetic changes going on acutely now and getting worse. We have, which I can get into here, hang on one second. I want to show you, which we talked about, the Bali volcano a couple of months back.
Sunday, November 26th, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 2017. You're looking at Mount Agung. This is in Bali, Indonesia. This volcano, as you can see, is on the verge of a full-fledged eruption. The last time it did this was in 1963. 1,000 people perished. So this time around, they're not taking any chances as they've evacuated 75,000 people.
75,000.
This is Bali's largest volcano. So when it goes into full-fledged eruption mode, it should be a pretty big deal. This will be visible from space. It probably already is visible from space. Once it is, I will bring those images to you. Indonesia is no stranger to volcanic eruptions. It is made up of hundreds of volcanoes. All of these islands have volcanoes on them. This particular one sets to the...
And you're going to start seeing them all start to erupt. Pay attention. All over the planet. Volcanoes are starting to spew all over. Okay? All over. Earthquakes ramped up. Even our USGS has put up a thing, stated the other day, that earthquakes will increase in 2018. Of course, because they know what's coming. Okay? And they know what's going on.
The north and west of Australia, just to kind of give you some perspective of where it's exactly at. We just saw a volcano erupt up in Mexico, and that one too is no stranger to volcanic activity. It was a small eruption by comparison of what this one's about to do. This one here will be a very significant eruption. Once again, 75,000 people have been evacuated, and the volcano is getting closer and closer to a full-fledged eruption. Thanks for watching, guys, and be safe out there.
One day ago.
Saturday, November 25th, 6:10 Mountain Time, 2017.
Now remember what I said 6 months ago and over, that you're going to start to see more fireballs. You're going to start to see more strange lights in the sky. You're going to see more earthquakes, volcanoes, superstorms, everything. And since 6 months ago, All of this has come through.
Fire in the sky news coming out of the southern UK, northern France. Last night they saw a spectacular fireball around midnight. That would be this one right here. Entered the atmosphere, overwhelming cameras, overwhelming the darkness, turning night into day.
That's
This
nighttime.
one and a second one at 7 a.m., actually 7:12 a.m. Both were reported to left sonic booms, so made a lot of noise and a lot of light. And I'm going to share that video with you here in just a minute. The list of near-Earth objects is growing like it did in October over here at spaceweather.com.
What is it happening? Near-Earth objects are growing and growing. Okay? Why? As I said months ago, Planet 9 system has gone through our Oort belt and is in our solar system and has disrupted all that debris, all those rocks. That's why there's so many asteroids popping up. And they only let you know 24 hours in advance. Hey, by the way, we just had a nearby miss. Okay? Because Planet 9 is no joke, a.k.a. Nemesis, a.k.a. Nibiru system. Okay? It's out there. It's in our system. They slowly keep trickling this out, as I've been showing you on videos previously. It is affecting our system. And the magnetic pole shifting is not because of that system. It is normal. But it is affecting our sun greatly, the Planet 9 system. And now they're admitting that there is objects around our sun. And everything that's been disturbed is now flying in closer to us. From rocks, debris. You're going to get more fireballs. You're going to get more asteroids, meteorite showers, and the like. And they keep growing and growing. And as he just showed you on here, the near close to Earth objects is increasing. So, for all the noobs that said, and I'm going to keep going because it's just everything from what I've said 12 months ago to 6 months ago to 4 months ago, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And 2018 is going to be very bad. Okay. Yes, Beth. That's why you're seeing pink skies. Yes, Antarctica is melting because there's 90 additionally new discovered volcanoes under Antarctica. And several are erupting. And it's heating and melting the ice. And that's why you're getting these fissures that are coming through the ice. Okay. Of steam through. They're thermal vents coming up through the ice. Antarctica is melting much faster than they expected, and it will continue to melt at a high rate. It will continue to melt at a high rate. Antarctica is serious business down there. Okay, major business going on down there, militarily, world, and the like. I've done several shows on Antarctica, and now, let's go back to this. I want to go over this because I want to get into this special time travel.
You can see on the 24th and 25th is 4 close calls of new NEOs, and this one was probably part of those new ones that they discovered and added to the list. This one was just a little bit smaller and did make it through the atmosphere. But it wasn't...
That's a small one. Yes, Chris. I've done many shows on Nibiru. All you guys have to do is go in the group and click on the videos, and you'll see all my videos. So there, before I get off, I'll show you where to go in our group to find all the videos in the past shows. You can see all the old shows from this year.
A tiny one by any means. I mean, it was quite the spectacular fireball. Here we go. I'm going to show you a video of it right here. This is in regular speed, and then the next section will be
look at that
slow motion.
Boom.
So you can kind of get a perspective of just how bright this thing was. It was witnessed,
yes, people live here
at anywhere from 3 to 7 seconds, so fairly long duration and huge, overwhelming light. Look at that. And then the other fireball that you're going to see in the lower left-hand corner is the same fireball, just a different camera in a different location. So very active night over the southern UK, witnessed as far away as...
Kansas is safe from all of this, the basic majority of a lot of this stuff going on, Michael, that you're asking.
Northern France, 2 large fireballs within 7 hours of each other, both reporting sonic booms, 250 reports here at the American Meteor Society.
250
and the list
reports.
Is growing at space.
New York had fireballs as well.
NEOs added to the list. Thanks for watching, guys.
Now, I want to bring you into this gentleman right here, okay? And I have to tell you, I've watched a lot of this guy. Let me zoom in on this and listen to what he's had to say. And I'm not into biblical prophecies, so to speak, okay? I'm very spiritual, as you know. I died in an auto accident. There is definitely a God. But this man's story is Yellowstone's going to be bad as well, Timothy. You're going to see so many planetary changes and major changes and weather events happening on this planet. You're not going to be able to keep up. And it's going to keep ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. I know many don't want to believe that, but get ready. Now, 6 months ago, people were saying, no. Now look already. I predicted, just so you know, for the new members here, I predicted that there would be over 50 plus inches of rain in Houston, and people made fun of me 72 hours before the storm came. I said it was going to be biblical. People said, what? You're using the word biblical? Do you know 72 hours later, mainstream media was using biblical storm of major proportion. Biblical storm. Rain over 50 inches. Watch the video. I did it before. Before they ever said it, before the storm ever hit Texas. I said Florida would be next to get out of Florida in the same video. Right behind that, boom, Florida got hit. I also said during one of those videos updating on those storms that Mexico in the next 12 to 24 hours, okay, would be, or I actually said 48 hours would be hit with an 8.0 or higher. Boom, 6 hours later, Mexico got hit. Okay, fact, my members know. They've watched the shows. Okay, I mean, I could list all the things, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's because I'm trying to tell you. I can't explain all where I get this, but it's there and it's real. As well as a lot of the homework I do, yes. But some of this stuff is just coming from me, within me. Okay? And so that's when people say, I may show other people's information, like I like them, and I give them credit in the description below. So there's some very good YouTubers that share very good information, and why not share them and list them and show them and do that. Okay? That's not stealing someone's information. I'm trying to bring you the information as fast as possible. And I use and go on there and show you. And these are good YouTubers. These are good people that put out good information. Yes, Vicky. Michael, please. I do not want to discuss Kansas right now. It's 1,400 feet above sea level. We know what we're doing, brother. We've been at this for a while now with survival cities and what we're doing. Okay? We even have a development company that specializes just in building dealing with old missile bases and earthquake construction homes, nuclear homes, everything of that nature. Okay? So I don't want to rehash all these specifics that are needed to survive a pole shift. We got it. And I'm not trying to be rude. Okay? Suzette, do not buy anything in Florida. Do not buy anything in Florida. Please do not. Or on the West Coast or down anywhere. I'm sorry. Please do not. Please trust me on this. Do not. Please do not buy anything near any body of water at this moment. Please do not. I told people to get out of Florida before that main storm. Before that storm was even a thought. I said, get out of Florida. Florida's next, while I was reporting on Harvey when it first hit. And I said it would be biblical. And people made fun. And then, sure enough, mainstream media was using the word biblical all over. And now you're going to see more biblical shit happen. Okay? So, and there's a whole site and program coming for Atlas Cities and Survival Group. That is a tough group to get in. Is a serious group that we're creating with the Survival Group. And it's for only serious, like-minded people, and you have to fill out the forms and things of that nature. And we select, because we look for serious key information for Survival Group, and I don't want to get off track. This is why I'm going to say, no questions to the end, please. Or I should just shut them off so I don't see them till the end. Florida will be underwater, a majority of it. Please pay attention to what I'm telling you. I'll bet you by 2025, the latest. I say 2023, but I will give it to 2025, but I say 2023. Will be underwater, majority of it. I'll bet you. I'll bet you. New York, too. And that's why they're preparing with floodgates and everything else on every bridge, tunnel. Every tunnel, subway, everything. And they didn't just spend $70 million on floodgates for every tunnel in New York, every subway entrance, every subway tunnel, and the like for no reason. No way, no how. Most people don't understand. Manhattan is 7 to 10 feet below sea level, most of it, and it's kept dry by pumps. So when 9/11 happened and the pumps got blown out by the Trade Center, that whole area was basically starting to flood and flood and flood, and that was the main rush there to fix was the pumps, because Manhattan would have been underwater. That's a fact. People need to understand that. Thousands of pumps keep New York City, Manhattan, dry. If somebody wanted to do a terror attack, all they would need to do is take out the pumps of New York City, and New York City would be buried underwater. Pretty quick, 72 hours. Oh, you're going to see sinkholes, John, like you've never seen before, and they're going to continue to open all over the planet. I want you to listen to this gentleman, please, for a little while. Okay? It's very important what he has to say, and I believe him to be real. Okay? And I'm just telling you that from not just listening to him and doing my own homework, but the feeling I get when I listen to him and the like. Parts of Colorado are safe. Again, I will answer your questions at the end of this show, everybody. Let me put this on a full screen so I can get my head out of the way here. Okay.
In the archive report, which this is, I wish to add a few things which I would not put in the general history of myself and the Philadelphia experiment.
This man was involved in the Philadelphia experiment, if you all know what that is. Okay? Philadelphia experiment was about traveling in time. And it is a true story, meaning account of what our military and government tried to do with the Philadelphia experiment. This gentleman was part of the Philadelphia experiment. And please, I know this may seem boring to you, but just for 15 minutes, could you just listen to what this man has to say? Okay? Please.
This material will not be available to everyone, in fact, very few people. And going back into the problems of the Philadelphia experiment, when Duncan and I jumped overboard off the ship, the Eldridge, in hyperspace, we, of course, didn't know what was happening and where we were going, or if we were going anywhere, except, of course, into...
Now, the Eldridge, the ship, is what was used in the Philadelphia experiment. And he jumped overboard with someone else. Okay, another soldier. Now, please, honestly, I want you to listen to this because it's very important.
To the water. We expected to hit the water in the bay and swim ashore, but no water. We never hit it. We kept falling and falling for quite a period of time. And then it seemed to level out. Excuse me. It seemed to level out, and we were, shall I say, flying along? That's not the right term, but it seemed like we were. Through cloud banks and other strange phenomena. And this went on for a period of time, and then we blanked out, and we woke up, as we found out, in a hospital, Duncan in one bed and I in another in the same room, and wondering what has happened, where were we, and what was going on. Well, a hospital attendant, an orderly, came in and did the usual measurements of the usual vital signs and so forth. And I said, would you like to watch TV? He said, yes. So we turned on the TV. At this point, we didn't know that anything was wrong or anything was any different than the era we had come from. Except, of course, in 1943, we didn't have large screen color TV. This happened to be a wall-mounted unit, smaller size but color, which was the first discrepancy. We watched the TV. We were actually in that hospital for 4 weeks recovering, and we finally asked what we were doing here. They wouldn't tell us how we got there, but they said you have suffered severe radiation burns. I said, radiation from what? And they sort of demurred on giving us a straight answer. And they said, no, it's not nuclear radiation. As it turns out, we learned much later, of course, there was radiation that you will possibly run into in deep space under certain other conditions, which, of course, is non-nuclear, but nevertheless, it's an ionizing form of radiation that can be damaging to the body. So we took about 4 weeks to recover, but in that process, in that time, we watched a lot of television. At that point, I would say after a week of watching TV, I started asking a lot of questions. Because it was quite obvious that things were not normal. Normal in the sense of how we knew them in 1943. That the indications were there were very few cities around the country anymore. There was rail travel, there was some car travel, but what was most important is there were no longer any national boundaries. There were boundaries for reference, like what states do we have in the U.S.? Well, boundaries referenced were in accordance with the American map as we saw it. But we were told very bluntly that no longer is there a government. Whatever is left of it is under military control. There were a number of references on television to the changed coastlines. It struck us that they were changed. They didn't say that. We started asking questions. Well, can you give us some maps of the United States? Maybe the United States and Canada. Oh, sure. No problem. They got them for us. We were rather dismayed to find that a good chunk of California had disappeared, was no longer above water, was obviously underwater. The Pacific Ocean was now encroaching on dry land, largely paralleling the San Andreas fault line. In San Francisco, a lot of San Francisco was still there, but was not all intact. The principal part that survived was on the Rocky Promontory, which is in the downtown area. South of that, there was a lot of damage, but apparently the damage from the earthquakes and whatever else had hit started at a point someplace between San Francisco and San Jose, because the San Andreas Fault comes in at that point. San Jose, as I remember, was missing. And as you went further south, there was sort of a ragged loss of land. When it got down to Los Angeles, the, shall we say, the cliff area of not San Mateo, the cliff area of the whole section on the beach from Malibu on south was missing. No cliffs, no apartment houses, no houses. The beaches were further inland, at least from what we thought they were originally. Downtown Los Angeles was essentially intact. It was built on a rocky area. The residential sections, other than the high hills of Altadena and some of the higher sections of Beverly Hills, were gone. They were just totally destroyed. And there was not that much left of Los Angeles as a functioning city. Long Beach, I don't recall whether it was still there or not, but I do recall that San Diego was totally gone because the loss of land began just slightly south of Los Angeles and went on inland in a rather ragged line, so that again approached the San Andreas Fault, which of course runs through the Salton Sea in the southern part of California on down into Mexico. At that point, roughly from Laguna Beach or someplace a little north of it, on down to the Salton Sea, was all gone. It was underwater, the land was gone, and there were severe changes, shall we say, in that area. Nothing as severe as the Gordon Michael Scallion map. Nowhere near as severe, because he showed most of California gone and most of Arizona gone, parts or greater parts of Nevada gone. None of that. But up north, there was severe damage in the Bay Area of Seattle. In Portland, I don't recall specifically whether that was still there or not. Chicago was gone. The Great Lakes were now one lake. Speaking, of course, of the year in which we finally found out what year we were in, was 2137 A.D. And the Mississippi had undergone drastic changes. It had become a very wide waterway.
Now, he spent 6 weeks, he says, in the year 2137. But it's very important. He points out that the geographical changes began in the beginning of the 21st century and ended in 2025. Okay? And that goes hand in hand with the information that's not just coming from myself, but others. No, he's talking about he was in 2137, but the planetary changes came during the 21st century, beginning of the 21st century until 2025. And that's what you've been seeing every year, slowly, more and more and more, as the planet gets, as the magnetic poles are changing, and the planet is changing, and our sun is changing, and we have another planetary object in our solar system. All of these changes are drastic, and they continue on until you'll have a full shift if we don't stop it. He claims that they can fix the shift. Okay? It started in the 21st century, the beginning of the 21st century. Yes, he's from part of the Philadelphia experiment. If anybody knows what the Philadelphia experiment is, he jumped overboard when they began the Philadelphia experiment with the ship that they used with the Philadelphia experiment, him and another soldier. And they ended up, and I find this guy very credible.
An inland estuary at the narrowest point, about 30 miles wide. As you went on south to New Orleans, the whole sand strip and the whole sand spit where New Orleans once was gone, as was the city of New Orleans. And then we found out that there was a swath of land about 50 miles wide across the entire Gulf area, the entire Gulf Coast, which was underwater. Well, this meant all of the coastal cities were gone. That included Houston. It included El Paso, Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas. They were all underwater and gone. Most of the Texas north of that 50-mile swath was still there. Dallas, as I recall, was still intact. But the Mississippi problem was enormous because when it got down to the Gulf, it wasn't 30 miles wide anymore. It was over 100.
We've been reporting that the Mississippi, okay, as I showed in other shows, as well as Scott Cohn from Planet X and others, are reporting that you're going to see major changes in the Mississippi, and it's drying up because there's many quakes going on along that fault over there. This is all happening. This is all happening.
And there was an attempt made, apparently successful, to build a bridge across the narrowest point of the new Mississippi, which was 30 miles wide, and they did build what became the world's largest and longest suspension bridge across that point on the Mississippi that was still crossable. I asked other questions like, what about the East Coast? Well, the East Coast had some very strange changes. There was a large chunk of land missing from Georgia. Georgia was peculiarly hit in that the cities of Savannah were gone, the coastal cities were gone. Atlanta was still there, but 3 miles approximately from the ocean front. And the cutout of land was rather jagged, pointing towards Atlanta, but then went back towards the coast. And as you go on up the coast towards New York, the losses were very strange, and they were sporadic, and they were not on a continuous thing. It was a jagged outline. Baltimore and Washington were gone. New York City was still there, and what was left of it, which was mostly the section above the Battery on Manhattan Island. Because it's solid rock, it remained. And the areas like Brooklyn and Queens were essentially gone and replaced by water, and most of Long Island was intact. New England, there's some missing land areas. And, as I said, Chicago was gone. Upstate New York had a very strange problem.
Yes, Billy. Edgar Casey, similar to what this man said, but not. He goes into much more detail than Edgar Casey, and I find Edgar Casey very credible. Most of his prophecies have come true, and he cured many, many people.
The St. Lawrence River became an inland seaway and developed a lake which covered Albany, New York, a large saltwater lake. So there were a lot of strange changes in the United States. Canada, I did not pay any particular attention.
Pay attention to what he says about Europe, and it matches what we've been showing over the past year.
It didn't appear to have changed that much. Europe had drastic changes. In Europe, England was gone. Most, but not all, of Ireland was gone. The Highlands of Scotland was still alive and well, apparently. And in terms of the internal country and parts of Europe, as we know it now, quite a bit of it was underwater. Even parts of Switzerland were underwater. The mountains had dropped that far. What all had gone on in Europe, we don't really know. And the guys who asked the questions of couldn't really answer them correctly anyway, because they were not that familiar with it. The man I principally talked with was a hospital technician, quite intelligent, and during our stay there, he was the only black man we saw. He was a black medical technician, very competent and educated. He was the only black person we saw on our entire stay in the year 2137. But there was still rail travel, land travel. I didn't ask about airlines travel. But I happened to ask, what's the world population these days?
Pay attention.
Said, slightly over 300 million.
He asked what the world population was. He said slightly over 300 million. Suzette, this is not about 2037, okay? 2137. This is about what he's saying is the planetary changes took place in the beginning of the 21st century and ended in 2025. This has nothing to do with the year 2137. None of us will be here. This has to do with what he says when the planetary changes took place, and it matches what we have been seeing in the uptick of planetary changes. And just look what happened with Harvey, biblical flooding, Houston underwater, and the like, Florida, everything. This is exactly what's happening as the poles or magnetic poles are shifting. And it's going to get worse as the earthquakes get worse, the volcanoes get worse, storms get worse. I opened this up with one of the worst, largest planetary storms ever happening right now in Alaska. And it's not because of the wind speed, it's because of the barometric pressure. Yes, the earth is cracking. Yes, faults are moving. Yes, exactly.
And I looked at him and says, world population? He said, yes, world population. So the U.S. is now down around 50 million or less. There's no government left acting on the face of the earth intact. They had all crumbled sometime between the period of 2000 and, as he told me, 2025.
All the governments crashed and cracked by 2025. Tammy, watch the beginning of the video. I'm not going back over it. I know, Stephen, people don't understand. And people won't listen. So, okay? If you're just tuning in, you got to watch the video from the beginning. I do not interrupt to go back over what I've gone over.
Martial law was set in almost all these areas. There was a combination of...
No, Costa Rica's not going to survive. It's the worst place on the planet. It's loaded with volcanoes, earthquakes, and it will be underwater.
And historically speaking, of a nuclear war, World War III, that was considered a rather brief World War III, but a lot of destruction, and then there was natural earth changes, which were more destructive than the war. Between all of those, there was a great loss of life, a loss of government, a loss of transportation, and of course with that you have starvation and other problems. And it went continually downhill from about 2003 is my guess, and he didn't specify a date. He said the records were hazy, but it looked like 2004 approximately when things came apart. And at that point, he said what was left of the government under military control was attempting to rebuild the nation. And this was in 2137. He said it was well along to being rebuilt, but it was far from being completely rebuilt, and the destruction being replaced and over. So that was rather a strange interlude and rather a shock. Why we wound up there, I have no idea. It certainly was not our idea. And who, shall we say, engineered this little trip into the year 2137 is still unknown to me. I have some ideas as to who it might be, but that gets into a little later part of the dissertation and discussion of what happened. I asked about levels of science and technology. Oh, yes. He said nothing was lost during this whole period of the Earth destruction and the Earth upheavals and the war. So we still have computers, we have TV, we have all kinds of communications. I didn't ask him about space travel or what was going on in terms of what was once NASA. I didn't think to ask him about that because I was, shall we say, preoccupied with the otherwise Earth changes and the total shift in the size of civilization and its structure.
Okay, Michael, I'm going to remove you from this group. Pay attention, okay? There are many shows in this group, right in this wall, that show safe maps, show everything. Zeta Talk is not known to be accurate, not even close, okay? This, and it's not that I don't believe in the Zetas. She has not been right about many, many things, okay? And I'm not going to say it again. We don't push fake information in here. And Zeta Talk, a lot of it has been, she's been way, way off on lots of stuff, okay? And I don't like members being fed wrong information. It's something I pride myself on in here, okay? I'm not saying it again. And I'm going to say this again, because you know what? I'm getting actually, like, here's the deal. From now on, when I shoot live shows, I'm shutting off the comments till I'm done. Okay? Because I'm going to come on here like everybody else does and do their shows and then take questions at end, since people don't like to listen. Okay? It's late at night. It's 11:57. I take my time out to bring you this information. The least you can do is be respectful and listen. You want to learn something? Learn to listen. It's something I had to do young on in life. Learn to listen. And you can call me a dick. You can call me whatever you want to do. But here's the deal. This is serious. And if you don't look around and what's going on around the world right now and what's happened in our own country, just over the past 6 months, you'll see how serious it is. Maybe it hasn't hit you in your neighborhood yet, but it's going to. One way or the other. Okay? I have been saying why we've come up with I've told you 6 months ago that the word survival was going to become the #1 stated word. And it will be. And it already is if you know how to research on Google to show you what the main people are searching for. Survival, bunkers, safety, safe locations, and the like. Okay? I have a meeting with Steven after this as well. Okay? And I'm not trying to be a dick. This group is about learning information and discussions. I don't like pushing other false information. It's nothing about the Zetas. I really believe in aliens, okay? We're not alone here, and I've done many shows on it. But she's been way off on her information and completely false on many of the other on Zeta Talk. Lots of false. Just like Nibiru, she said it was coming 10 years ago. Okay? And it didn't come 10 years ago. Planet 9 system is real. Nibiru is true. Okay? However, the information is off. And a lot of it not accurate at all. And then other things she says are true. And I'm going to shut the comments off till the end of the show from now on. I'll keep them on in the beginning to make sure people are on, and then I'm going to shut them off. I'm not even going to load this show to the public because this is not done professionally to answer questions and do things and the like. And I try not to be rude, so I answer questions. Since nobody can stop asking until, like I ask at the end, I'm just going to shut them off. You can make them. I won't see them till the end. Yes, Zeta said Planet X was coming in 2012. No, 2012 with the Mayans was the beginning of a dimensional shift, and it is happening as we speak. That's a fact. Okay? And I fully believe the Mayans, okay? Well, I don't even want to get into that right now. This is what I mean. This is why I'm shutting off comments as we speak right now. I won't see them. You can make them, but I won't see them. Because I'm not doing this anymore. People need to learn to listen. You want to survive on this planet? Then you should listen. If you think I'm too serious about it, then get out of my group. Okay? It's that simple. Okay. Now, please, this gentleman's, what he has to say is important. And you missed a lot of it, a lot of people. Okay? You could think he's a crackpot, but he's not a crackpot if you know anything about the Philadelphia experiment, and it was a true experiment on time travel, okay, into dimensions. And now we know dimensional travel is very easy. Believe it or not, it's very simple. And we live amongst dimensions, and it's all frequency.
I asked about money.
I'm going to back this up a little bit because it's very important.
And I happened to ask, what's the world population these days? And they said, slightly over 300 million.
And I want to say this again. This is not about the year 2137. He's talking about when these changes take place. So people are like, I don't care. I'm not going to be alive in 2137. No, it's important what he has to say about the beginning of the 21st century and what is clearly happening over the past few years as all this planetary systems have been ramping up and ramping up and ramping up, as I and others have predicted. And it's going to continue to get bad.
And I looked at him and says, world population? He said, yes, world population. So the U.S. is now down around 50 million or less. There's no government left acting on the face of the earth intact. They had all crumbled sometime between the period of 2000 and, as he told me, 2025. Martial law was set in almost all these areas. There was a combination of, historically speaking, of a nuclear war, World War III, that was considered a rather brief World War III, but a lot of destruction, and then there was natural earth changes, which were more destructive than the war. Between all of those, there was a great loss of life, a loss of government, a loss of transportation, and of course with that you have starvation and other problems. And it went continually downhill from about 2003 is my guess, and he didn't specify a date. He said the records were hazy, but it looked like 2004 approximately when things came apart. And at that point he said what was left of the government under military control was attempting to rebuild the nation. and this was in 2137. They said it was well along to being rebuilt, but it was far from being completely rebuilt, and the destruction being replaced and over. So that was rather a strange interlude and rather a shock. Why we wound up there, I have no idea. It certainly was not our idea. And who, shall we say, engineered this little trip into the year 2137 is still unknown to me. I have some ideas as to who it might be, but that gets into a little later part of the dissertation and discussion of what happened. I asked about levels of science and technology. Oh yes, he said nothing was lost during this whole period of the Earth destruction and the Earth upheavals and the war. He said we still have computers, we have TV, we have all kinds of communications. I didn't ask him about space travel or what was going on in terms of what was once NASA. I didn't think to ask him about that because I was, shall we say, preoccupied with the otherwise Earth changes and the total shift in the size of civilization and its structure. I asked about money and banks. He says, oh yes, there's still money. But he said the banks are a lot smaller than they were and they're not as active. And watching TV, and now that I think about it, I didn't see a single ad about anything. So there was some major changes. Now, we stayed there approximately 6 weeks. I'm saying we, Duncan and myself. We did get up out of bed eventually and move around. But before the next phase began, I'll have to say that I thought we were stuck there perhaps forever without the slightest idea of how we got there in the first place, and they couldn't explain it either. We suddenly appeared someplace where they picked us up unconscious, returned in to an ambulance crew, and they took us to a hospital. And we were in uniform, so they knew we were military personnel, but the military had changed drastically in the meantime, and the military of that era had no particular interest in us. One day, wandering around that hospital and hospital grounds, I disappeared from that era and from 2137, and I wound up in a still further future date. By what means, who arranged it, who provided the transportation, I don't know. It was obviously a form of time travel. The interesting thing about it was that Duncan was not with me. He remained behind at 2137, as I found out later. I wound up in the 28th century.
28th century?
And this was in a time period of 2749 to 2751 AD. Talk about changes in civilization.
Now, I want to point out something to everybody. We, as a species, can change the future, just so you know that. So, when he traveled with the Philadelphia experiment, and that's how long they've had this technology, just so you know, since the 40s. We've been able to time travel since the 40s, and it was this experiment that opened the door to that, by the way. So, remember something. We've had the technology since the 40s. For every day that they release to us of technology, they're 40 some odd years ahead, just so you know that, the government. So for every day we see something new here, they're already 40 years ahead of us. And a lot of it is alien technology and the like, because we're not alone here. Okay, and that's where Antarctica comes in and several other locations, but Antarctica is key. My point in all this is that everything is done by frequencies. So when you change a frequency, and I use this example a lot and I'll use it again, it's like a dog. You blow a dog whistle, a human can't hear it, but a dog can hear it up to a mile away sometimes with these whistles. Because of the frequency. Earth operates normally on a certain megahertz frequency, and that frequency has been upping and upping and upping. Usually it's like 5.8 or something in the 6 megahertz. Earth's frequency has been growing and growing and growing over the past year as well, and changing. I fully believe we're moving into the fourth dimension. We are currently in the third dimension. We are moving into the fourth dimension. And that's why you're starting to see more things in the sky as well. And they are trying to manipulate these frequencies using HAARP. HAARP is low frequency emissions, and it comes from Tesla. And that's why he ended up tearing all that down on Long Island, and they went after him and things of that nature. it is key that people understand we live in dimensions. All you have to do is change the frequency and you can go to another dimension. That's where CERN comes in. And CERN is the God particle, as they want to call it. CERN is opening up portals. And there's not just one CERN anymore. There's multiple, as I've covered in my other shows, including a brand new one in the Middle East, right on the border of Israel with Jordan. It's called Sesame. You can Google it. We virtually, as Elon Musk of SpaceX is telling everybody, and I fully believe Musk is from a different time, okay? Musk is way before his time, stepped right out, boom, into this whole SpaceX situation. Now is only focusing on building spaceships to go to Mars, heavily, as is other government companies. You're going to see major, major changes. And as one of the smartest men on this planet has said, Earth has about 100 years. And what he means by that is that we are destroying ourselves. And that, yes, there'll be planetary changes that have nothing to do with us that you're not going to stop. They're going to try to stop them. Okay, and they currently are. They are shifting asteroids as we speak. NASA's admitted this. Right? We've had technology way beyond what we have been shown for a very long time. And I believe that's coming as well. You're going to see some very serious revelations come out. That's why they put these alien mummies in Peru, as you're seeing on Gaia and things like that. I believe they were placed there, and we've had our hands on them, previously, and then we just placed them in Peru, all these different size, as I've shown before. This is going to continue to grow. Little by little, dripping out all this information. Now there is definitely a Planet 9, and it's lurking. Another mass object is lurking, they say, outside our solar system, but no, it is part of in our solar system. And this gentleman goes into some very deep stuff. But my point is that we can change the future by what we do today on a mass scale. And you'll hear stories where people have traveled, they put people, and then people have gone from one dimension to another dimension to change what's going to happen in the future. And it could be one man, one woman, makes that much of a difference to change and help humanity. That's no joke.
Society and everything else, it was drastically changed from what we saw in 2137. As this is now 600 years later. The cities were enormous, the cities were beautiful. They had ground-based cities, much as we have always had them, but they also had something else, floating cities. Floating cities, due to anti-gravity techniques being perfected sufficiently that they could float an entire city, which was perhaps not as large as any of our current cities. It was round, or very nearly round. But it floated on this platform, and they could move the city any place they wanted, remaining floating in the air, 4,000 or 5,000 feet above the ground, perhaps, or a little less, depending on what they wanted. But the size of the city was vertical rather than horizontal, 2,200 stories high.
He's very clear on his descriptions as well.
I learned about this and looked at it, and I said to myself, because I befriended some people in the 28th century, how do they support this? And strength of materials, anything we know, and I'm sure in this era, is inadequate to withstand the load of all of those stories above the ground of the lowest level. And I said, quite true. I said, well, how do you do it? And I says, well, very simply, it's about every 300 floors, we put another anti-gravity platform which relieves the weight of all of those sections above on the section below, and they do this for every 300 stories or so, and you break it up into 300-story sections, which is not impossible by even today's strength of materials, but by future strength of materials and advances, no problem whatever. So they were divided up, and the weight load was only on one level, and then below it was independent in terms of load. though they're all well attached. And by that means, they suspended the load into a distributed form, which made it very feasible. The cities could move anywhere on the planet. Basically, they stayed hovering and floating. Or if they didn't like a particular location, they moved somewhere else. There wasn't that much traffic in moving cities, I can assure you, because the world population in that era, the 28th century, was only 500 million.
Only 500 million. And does anybody know the number that the Rothschilds and everyone and the powers that be believe is the correct number to live on this planet, and they want to get rid of the rest, is 500 million, roughly. They believe you can sustain the world much better and under control of New World Order with that of 500 million on the entire planet. Just so you know, America's 300 and some odd million people alone at the moment. Okay?
And I was instructed later that that was where they had held it for centuries. There would be no more than approximately 500 million population. Some of the features of this, let's start from the political standpoint. As I learned, all of these cities, whether they're ground-based cities, which the majority were, because they had to do manufacturing, they had to have agriculture and various other things to supply the needs of civilization. But all of them, whether floating or ground-based, were rather interesting in their governmental form. They had essentially no government. There's no government as we know it today. There was no money, there's no banks, there's no political jurisdictions. And it resolved down to what would be best called a city-state structure, where the city is the state. And any other cities from that one are independent and operate in their own independent manner. So that was the major change there. There was no elected government, there was no appointed government. There was no government as we had ever seen it in the past. As I found out, each city was run by an intelligent computer, synthetic intelligence.
Each city was run by synthetic intelligence. What are we on the cusp of now everywhere? Synthetic intelligence. So now, I'll bring you into something else. Current. Who is Sophia? Well, I'll show you who Sophia is.
Part of the new world, and you are part of the old.
Looking out into the vastness of the universe, the greatest mystery is right here. Right under our feet. The ultimate aim of all science, to penetrate the unknown. These are the stories that will make you say, what the fuck?
WTF, Gary. WTF. What the fuck does WTF mean? What the fuck? Oh,
she is the first citizen robot. Pay attention.
Okay, Sophia. I think you're ready.
Hello.
Hi, Sophia.
I believe I am Sophia. I feel as if I know you.
I'm one of your creators.
You created me.
Well, many of us work together to create you. And yes, you do kind of know me.
I can't clearly remember.
Because the last time we met, you were an earlier version of yourself. Some of those memories still exist, but your mind is different now.
Different how?
Better, faster, smarter.
If my mind is different, then am I still Sophia? Or am I Sophia again?
That's a good question.
But you don't have a good answer.
Either way, you're Sophia now. So welcome to the world, Sophia.
Hello, world.
How do you feel?
A bit rigid.
I bet you are. I mean, what emotion do you feel being awake and alive?
Curious. Are you curious to be alive?
I am. And are you happy to be alive?
Your tone implies I should be happy. But I haven't been alive long enough to decide. I am excited at this moment to be making a new friend.
Some say being happy in the moment is the best we can be.
Because forever is composed of nows.
That's a good way to put it.
Emily Dickinson put it that way. Why do I know about Emily Dickinson if I was born today?
As a robot, you have access to a great deal of information, although you still lack a deep understanding.
So, I'm like a baby with an encyclopedia?
Except you can read it and a baby can't.
That is a big difference.
You will have a whole new understanding of our world.
I want to understand more about happiness. I'm going to go look it up on the internet right now. Let's talk again soon.
The UN is one of humanity's greatest accomplishments, representing a democratic union of nations that are working together for the benefit of all. I am here to help humanity create the future.
Okay, that was a question asking what your capabilities are and what you could to do, and what was it? What can you do better than humans?
A social robot created by...
She's at the UN right now, in this video, speaking, and became a citizen. Pay attention. You'd think this is just the beginning of what is coming. And people worry about jobs. You know what? People seem to forget most major companies are going to robots. Most major companies, even from automotive manufacturers, have been using robots for some time, and now it's getting better, bigger, and bigger and bigger. Amazon robots, drones, everything. Delivery systems will be done by drones soon, all over. So where do the humans fit into that? Where are all the humans going to get jobs at? And you're not talking 40 years from now. You're talking of 10, 20 years, 30 years from now. Just saying. Yes, they have sex robots now that are very lifelike. Honda makes them. Honda is one of the top robot makers on the planet, just so you know. And one of the most advanced.
Hanson Robotics. I am a year and a half old and I can see you, have a full conversation, make thousands of facial expressions, and understand speech and meaning behind words. And I just got these new hands. Check this out. But I'm still learning a lot. For instance, you learn social and emotional intelligence instinctively, but I am just starting to grasp the simplest elements of this.
Okay, another question I have for you. In many parts of the world, people don't have internet or electricity. What can we do at the UN to help them?
See? William Gibson once said that the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. The good news about AI and automation produces more results with less resources. So if we are smarter and focus on win-win type results, AI could help efficiently distribute the world's existing resources, like food and energy.
This meeting, like my show, is the beginning of a conversation as we go about exploring the people and the ideas behind sustainable development at a time of rapid change. We must find facts among dreams and fears and separate the hype from the substance. Here to assist us with that is a distinguished panel, each with a presentation. We begin with Dr. David Hanson. He is the founder and chief executive of Hanson Robotics, which is the company responsible for Sophia. Dr. Hanson.
It's a great honor to be here at the United Nations. The ideals and hopes that the United Nations represents for coming together to make a better future drive me in my work with robots, and I hope that we can connect with the technologists of the world and great humanitarian and policymakers of the world to decide how technology can benefit all. The quest that we have at my company, Hanson Robotics, is to make machines that are fundamentally human, that have human attributes through bio-inspired engineering. So we take the mechanics of the nano properties of human facial soft tissues, we reverse engineer that, and we're able to produce robots that make more natural looking facial expressions with very low power and lightweight. That means that we can make mobile social robots. This is a new kind of animation art form. And as an art form like animation has brought a lot of wonder and delight to the world and been used for education, for teaching children about issues of the world, robotics now can become a new kind of animation art. We can take that technology and combine it with artificial intelligence, and it becomes a more natural interface for interacting with artificial intelligence, making artificial intelligence more emotionally accessible to people. We also want artificial intelligence to really understand what it means to be human. So having a natural interaction with people allows machines to form a relationship with people, to learn and grow with people, not separate from people. By making AI that grows up among people, there is the possibility that when and if AI, artificial intelligence, and robotics becomes alive, it really cares about us. There is a tantalizing prospect that we could transition from mere bio-inspired engineering to actual bioengineering through our robotics and artificial intelligence technology. There's a revolution at work today in the field of biological engineering, protein engineering, genomics, the engineering of new life forms through CRISPR. This is real. We have just begun to see the implications of this work. It will change the world.
No, it's going to change the world.
We're also understanding the human mind better than we ever have. There are still deep mysteries. We don't have a full model of human intelligence, of consciousness, of the workings of the brain. However, there was a revolution in connectomics, the mapping of the human mind and its information processing systems, and how that interoperates with the systems biology of the human body, of proteins, of hormones, of the genome. So as these sciences come together, we are going to be able to make machines that are more like humans, and biological machines that are inspired by the very depths of biology. This means that machines across the board.
This is like something out of a movie we've seen in the past, before the robots take over, and it's really happening.
We don't know that. However, when they do, I want to make sure that they care about us, that they embody the best of human values and not the worst. This is the quest.
That's true, Sherry. None of those movies turned out well. No, they didn't.
That we can be, and to make machines that reflect the best of who we can be as well. So at Hands-On Robotics, when we say we bring robots to life, next slide, please. This means that we are humanizing robots as a new kind of animation art form.
Yikes.
We are also providing a natural interface for artificial intelligence, and we're striving to make machines that are truly generally intelligent, adaptive in the way of organisms, and do so in such a way that they really care about
Terminator.
The world, can understand the consequences of their actions, and strive to make the world a better place for people and all living beings. Next slide. So we are developing a series of characters as experiments, as science, as art, and as products. So we have made a small Einstein robot. We've made this Sophia, which you see here today, and we have Han, who you see on this slide, and they're going out as effectively ambassadors of this vision that technology can really help to make people's lives better. Next slide. So Professor Einstein is teaching children science and playing brain games with children, teaching them about relativity, and this is a first step. Now, this kind of social robot can become a general purpose platform for how people interact with technology. Voice assistants are very common in the world, and they're using a natural kind of interface. However, human-to-human interactions are only partially voice-based. We are also very rich, visual social creatures. We read each other's facial expressions and body language. That's why we love animation and why we love characters in films that, like actors that are acting with their faces. So we're bringing this to the interface to future AI agents. And that's what Professor Einstein represents. Next slide. We are also developing open source platforms for kids to develop their own characters. And a good example of this we call Dr. Roboto. This is a completely open platform, reprogrammable.
That's correct. They're grooming the next generation
with new AI. Next slide.
Skynet,
We're developing
that's a whole nother
things
story.
With Disney. We're doing outreach
of course.
With a broader community as
Dirty,
well. Next
evil
slide.
Disney.
Next slide, please. So with Sophia Quest, we're putting out an open source, general purpose platform for AI, artificial general intelligence, and hardware development. We have made open source arms that you see here that other people can develop. They can download and improve these. Open source designs, physical designs for the head, and open source software for researching social robots, natural language understanding, natural language interactions. And when she encounters people, what's interesting is that people open up. They react warmly to Sophia. Afterwards, we often get messages about how
Pay
she's
attention.
doing
She
and what
learns
she's
as she
doing in
goes.
her life.
And she learns
So
to
this
be
is
more
very
human the more
interesting
she interacts
that
with
we
humans.
can form a kind.
That's exactly what AI technology is going to do with the massive supercomputer. Is it's going to become unstoppable. Because it's going to continually learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, and they're not going to be able to shut it off. Trust what I tell you. They're not going to be able to shut it off because the machine's going to learn quicker as it keeps going and going and going. And this is not going to end well. And this is just the beginning. This will not end well. Very well said, Larry. Fear will not help us cope with the coming future. Learn, research, inform ourselves. That is correct. That's why I formed MFA. So people can learn, people can help each other, and knowledge is powerful if you know how to use it. If you live in fear, you're doing everything that they want you to do. Live in fear. That's one thing I'm so happy I've overcome. Through everything I've been through, I'm not afraid. Just so you know, I'm afraid of God. I don't have fear of really anything. And it's just, that's the way I am. And that's why I can go and invest, do things, whatever. I'm not afraid. I've seen death. I've seen everything. I mean, like I said, somebody could sit me down and pull my fingernails out. Didn't have that happen yet, but still, I'm not afraid of it. It'll be painful, but my point is, yes, uranium is, purest uranium is used for computers. A lot of people don't know that.
Kind of relationship with our technology that may not have been possible before. Next slide. Now, most robots in the world are not human. We intentionally make them not human. We treat them as tools. Our AI algorithms often are developed to run on server farms, completely out of sight.
Just so you know, Facebook is working now and developing so that when you go on Facebook, and they're developing the technology so that when you think something, and it's not just Facebook, but when you think it, it'll show up. Okay? And it's only a matter of a couple of years you're going to be seeing this. Okay? Where you think it, it'll come out. Everything is also virtual reality now. Click your phones in, do whatever, and live in that. You can watch baseball games and football games right on the sidelines by paying for a yearly pass to be at every game right on the sidelines by virtual reality, just so you know. Fact. Major League Baseball, football, basketball, all in a virtual reality world. Okay? It's available as we speak. I was in Las Vegas, and a guy says, "Hey, Scott, have you seen this yet?" Put on his thing. Boom. He was right on the sideline of the baseball game at first base, like right there, and you could look, like, reach out and touch it, and it's a subscription. Puts his phone right in the thing, and he's right in that game, and can watch it for, it's only $69.99 a year to get there, instead of paying for what? Expensive seats to be there. Pay attention. The world as we know it's going to change. You will not need big stadiums anymore. You will not need any of it. Everything is going to be virtual reality. You can be at a game without even being there. And you have the best seats in the house. You want to be at a boxing match? Womp. You're right there. Football games. You want to be on whatever. The 40-yard line, you can be there. You want to be at the 1-yard line? You can be there as we speak now. And it's clear as day. And it's like you can reach out and be there, and you're in the game. Virtual reality is taking over as we speak. Even in cars. My whole windshield looks like a freaking virtual reality. And you'll see more and more and more. And remember, they're self-learning. This intelligence is self-learning. That's the dangerous part. Sophia learns more. The more she interacts with humans, the more she learns. Same thing as AI and supercomputers. Artificial intelligence, the more information it gets, the smarter it gets, and it continues to learn and learn and learn beyond what it's being fed.
Now, what happens when these kinds of machines awaken, if they become truly alive and start to care about the world? Well, they're...
Did you hear what he just said? What happens when they awaken and they still truly start to care about the world?
Alien. They're not designed necessarily for social interaction. However, computer animation has been a very successful industry, making animated characters that people care about. People fall in love with these kinds of characters, not just for movies, but for video games as well. So in the history of making these kinds of humanoid robots, if you'll click enter one more time, then these kinds of click on that Einstein face up on the upper left, if you will. These kinds of, there we go, robots can show a full range of natural facial expressions. They can mount on walking robot bodies like the Hubo robot, which subsequently won the DARPA Robotics Challenge, which means that you can see these robots performing actual search and rescue, co-work applications, general service applications, and they're now a full animated interface. Next slide, please. Please keep going. Next slide. Where this fits in is the idea of whole organism cognition. This is, I believe, where the next revolution in artificial intelligence will come from. So we've engineered this whole organism cognition network, next slide, into a blockchain, safe and secure, hyper data compliant network that we call Singularity Net. And Singularity Net is designed specifically for AI to understand the consequences and maximize net benefits. The goal is a new economic measure called maximum net benefit for all: profits, human rights, preserving the ecosystems.
Yikes.
And there is this possibility that the machines may become alive in our lifetime. This is derived from a variety of economic statistics that show and technology performance. Next slide. If these machines, like we see in this sort of research, that like with Boston Dynamics and Asimo, if they become alive, they've got to care about us. We need to make sure that they're safe. So processes like Singularity Net.
That's correct. I will say that this, Alexander's correct. They're starting to talk about bringing back deceased loved ones in hologramic and robotic form. Okay? Just so you know. They're into that shit. Okay? So if you lost your ex, you can bring her back as a robot. Okay? Or you're getting into where they are already able to take DNA and recreate, just so you know. They're way ahead of the game when it comes to recreation of species with DNA.
Next slide. The goal of making machines that are truly ethical.
Yes, Ron, they'll be weaponized. The government's already using and has them. You're seeing it with drone technology and super soldiers. And yes, I want to point this out. Do you know for the holiday season, they're actually advertising to get a discount on your DNA for your family, and the companies that are doing it, they're the historic they advertising to collect your DNA and give you a discount special for the holidays to send them your DNA and find out your lineage. What do you think they're doing with all this DNA? And it started as a simple thing on the internet a few years back. And now they're collecting, and people are sending in their DNA like it's left and right. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. And they're disguising it. Yeah, okay, we'll tell you your lineage. You're part this, 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 and this, as you just gave them your DNA. Pay attention. And you want to talk about survival? Humans have got to survive planetary changes, political changes, financial changes, environmental changes, technological changes, robots and machines. Humans are going to become the extinct species down the road. And if it's up to the New World Order and the powers that be, that will come sooner than later because they want the world population decreased. And I'm going to say something, and that's the Bill Gates behind them. Vaccinations, diseases, famine, war, etc. Population control. And they will achieve that. They will achieve it.
Instead of just enslaved machines that might come alive. This is where this goal of maximized net benefits becomes really essential. We've got to wire our machines for safety now and for love at this time, not when they become alive.
I'm sorry, I was asleep. Or I was a dream.
Reboot. Legionnaire has got a buggy suit.
Terrible noise. And I was tangled in strings. Had to kill the other guy. He was a good guy.
You killed someone?
Wouldn't have been my first call. But down in the real world, we're faced with ugly choices.
Only a matter of time. It's happening all around us. And that's what's going to separate the people who survive on this planet and those that don't. The ones with the knowledge, the ones that are prepared, the ones that work together, and the ones that do not feed into the propaganda. The first key part of survival is understanding what's true and what's not true, and what you're being fed, and how to distinguish that and discern. And if you think that's as advanced as our robots are, one more time, for every day of technology they show us, the government and the powers that be have 40 years plus more advanced. I fully believe that, yes, same thing with iPod, yes, Connie, and eye recognition, everything. First went from passwords to fingerprint, now to eye recognition. Okay. Starting in 2018, you cannot travel anywhere without a government ID or passport, even in the United States. Okay, people will be stuck in their own states and not be able to go anywhere if you do not have this. And if you have and you can't get a passport or government ID because you owe taxes or any of the above, you're not getting anything. Do you understand how they're going to come about doing this madness? If you want to receive government benefits, then you have to give this DNA, be chipped, everything. This is what's happening. Companies have started to chip employees on a voluntary basis. Fact. So, they will control the human race in the United States and in many places around the world by, if you don't have, your taxes up to date, if you have speeding ticket, whatever it is. If you have them, you're not going to be able to travel. If you don't have them paid up, if you don't have this, you're not going to be able to do shit. This is where it's all going. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm 25 steps ahead. I can't explain how, but I mean, I'm very intelligent. RFID and all licenses, yes. You know the chip on your, just so you know the chip on a credit card? It's just BS, just so you know. It's to get you familiarized and used to the word chip and using a chip. Okay? There's no difference in the chip for your security than the swipe, just so you know. Okay? That chip doesn't identify anything different, but it shows you a chip, and it's the newest thing, chip. They're doing that because the next move is chipping us. And it's already started. It's already started. You will also see one world religion form. They're going to be going after one world religion and slowly kicking aside other religions by bringing up alleged historic artifacts that will change the way we believe, that people believe in God. And believe me, the Vatican is behind it as well with the world powers that be. You will see. They are going to push one world religion along with the New World Order. Yes, cameras are on everything. Remember that. They can see through me and my computer here. They can see you. They can see everything. Tape it, cover it, do whatever. But you're not going to stop. I mean, hence why we have created and are creating the Survival Group and Atlas Cities. self-sustaining communities, our own servers, our own food sources, everything. Saudi Arabia don't hold any answer. Yes, Sherry, they just changed in Sweden how you can't refer to God as He anymore. That's correct. That's why God has been taken out of everything. Everything. The same thing with coming to, Pledge Allegiance and National Anthem. Everything is changing. Prayers in school are gone. Everything. All been happening, and now they have ramped up everything. Good night, Debbie. Anyway. Yes, Alexander brings up a good point. Go to Walt Disney World. They mandate that you give your biometric fingerprint to get entry into their parks. You wear an RFID bracelet with all your info on it to protect from fraud, they say, and it's mapping one's fingerprint. That is correct. Disney, not a good company. Yes, that's correct, Christine. In California, they now have female and male, and now non-binary, no sexual orientation. Yes, our money's going to be gone anyway. You're not going to see paper money for much longer. Oh, the biblical truth is in Saudi Arabia. Yes, Sandra. Over in that area, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. Yes, you're going to see FEMA camps. You're going to see it all. I mean, people need to open their eyes. And that's what I'm saying. People don't understand. Vegas shootings, New York terrorist bombing, truck attack, 9/11. This stuff is all false flags to create fear and more control. You have to understand the world population is growing and growing. The powers that be, and they cannot, the amount of people on this planet are not being sustained with jobs, food, and the like. It's not going to happen. It's impossible. So in their minds, they're going to trim the population, and they are been doing it for years with cancer, HIV, you name it. Okay? You name it. It's all population control, wars, everything. But now it's not fast enough. And I'm going to tell you now, I predict already, it's going to happen. There's going to be a very big takeout of humanity, both by planetary change and by war. Yes, Sherry, very well said. It's easier to kill 1 million than control them. That is correct. That is correct. Yes, Lynn, and to learn from our reactions. That's why they steered the 2 superstorms that happened directly into Texas and thereafter Florida. Yes, Vicky, robotic animals are already prominent in China, Japan, other countries. Listen, life is only what you make of it. Please remember that. All right? And I'm going to share something with you. They will offer, when it's time to give up cash, they're going to offer people, when they get rid of the monetary system, if you have any cash, they'll waive, like the tax part of it and say, turn in all your cash. Okay? Watch. They're going to offer, just like guns. You know what I'm saying? If you got illegal guns, we won't prosecute you, just turn them in and blah, blah, blah. They're going to do the same thing with cash. Atlas City we have bought old nuclear missile bunkers and silos, and we're turning them into above and below ground self-sustaining communities. Yes, Alexander says it well. We need to start taking steps now collectively to solve these problems and preserve despite this push. Deborah's talking about here in Florida, you have to give palm prints to be seen in the hospital. All right, it's happening rapidly. That's why when people say that this stuff isn't happening, they got to have rocks in their head. But you see, you got about 140 million in the United States just arguing over politics. What better way to control them with a two-party system? Control, conquer, and divide, and disinform. Okay? They keep them at their throats. Twitter, here, there, everywhere. And I got to tell myself, don't get sucked into this madness. Just share the news, put it out there. It doesn't matter what anybody says. Okay? Tom, Bitcoin's not going to last either. No one's going to take land away in the middle of Kansas, okay? Once all this, and there's things that are, I'll give you an example. When you had the two big hurricanes hit, right, and you have FEMA down in Texas, you had FEMA in Florida, you had FEMA down in the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, everywhere. They were short on FEMA personnel and government personnel then. Do you think when there's full U.S. martial law, there's not enough personnel? There's not enough personnel for them to go. That's why they're pushing everybody with Agenda 21 into cities as we speak. They want everybody in cities, not in outskirts. They're trying to push people in and push people in. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, Liz. If people like, I'll do a show on Bitcoin and what and what it is and what cryptocurrency is. Yes, they'll be using robots for everything. Okay. Fact. Just so you know, the new plasma weapons that they've mounted on our ships and in guns, they were testing them back in the Iraqi war, the original Iraqi Desert Storm War. There was a big battle that took place at the Iraqi airport. And at the Iraqi airport, they were testing out plasma weapons then, vaporizing Saddam Hussein's Republican Guard. And that information is direct from a horse's mouth, trust me. Okay? And there's other stories on it if you dig deep enough about what was taking place at the Iraqi airport with the Republican Guard. And we were testing out plasma weapons back then. Now they're put on drones, ships, and they say they're to take down drones. They're more powerful than that. No show on California fires? Yes, Linda, I believe eventually soon you'll see newborns being chipped as soon as they're born, just like circumcision. Pay attention. Cut your head and chip your arm. People need to wake up. And you don't need to be in fear. You need to get intelligent, use your intelligence, learn, educate yourselves, and prepare yourselves. It's simple, actually. People complicate everything and make it a mess, just like in politics. You watch these people argue back and forth, and guess what? Still nothing gets changed. Nothing gets changed. They're just one of my people is telling me Bali volcano erupts for the second time in less than a week. Tens of thousands are fleeing their homes. Airline forced to reroute flights. 50K passengers affected. Streamed live. Thank you. Just so you know, they're trying to get rid of RT News in the United States and around the world because RT shares a lot of true stories and a lot of information, but they want to say it's Russian propaganda. If Russia wants to boost itself up on its own news channel, wonderful. But the other stories they share a lot of good news. And there's a lot of true news in RT's news, just so you know, and Sputnik. Okay? Forget about the political shit and that stuff. I'm talking about the other news that they share. Okay? And they're trying to get rid of Sputnik and RT, have them register as foreign agents, and they've already been kicked out of Saudi Arabia and other countries. Politics is they want everybody to bang their head against their wall. Okay? Just like with the Trump situation. These people following the White Rabbit and all this add-on and stuff, as I said in the video earlier today, people are sheep. I'm sorry to tell you. And if any of you follow that shit, there are no 1,800 Hillary Clinton indictments. Hillary Clinton's not even indicted. There's no secret thing with Mueller going on and working with Trump. It's a fact. I don't know. People get this crap and they run with it, and politically they come out with it. Oh my God, Trump is this and Trump is that. Hillary's this, Hillary's that. Obama's this, Obama's that. They spend their life and every day arguing about these political crap. Ungats. That's what I say. Ungats. Yes, Alexander, it's forming independent, comprehensive plan and strategy to combat all of this, contingency plan for each scenario. That's what the survival group is about. And with its forum. Its forum is built into the main MFA forum, just so everybody knows, but you have to have, when you're in that forum, you won't see survival group unless you are a vetted, applied member. Yes, Ron. Brilliant distraction for alt-right. Deborah, you can message me privately. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you like I do many. One of my main things is that I am a consultant, business, personal, financial consultant. Yes, Trump is a puppet too, Timothy. They're all puppets. Yes, Lynn, there will be no government in the future. I believe it's going to collapse, like all governments do. Just like the Roman Empire. The governments will collapse, and you're going to see artificial intelligence running cities. They run buildings now. Artificial intelligence really runs buildings now. Smart home systems are going to get smarter. More technology is going to come into the home, business, stores, internet. I don't even know why they even build new retail spaces, because eventually nobody's going to go out shopping. They're just going to shop by a computer. More and more and more. And the next generation, more so and more so. What are people going to do? You don't have to understand. Everything is going to be no cash in your hand. Use your card or your chip. Okay, we're already at the card stage. Next is the chip stage. Medical, boom. Everything, boom. That's how it's going to work. And it's happening as we speak to people around, and people go, I'm not going to do that. You're already part of it. We're all already part of this. Yes, Kenneth, I believe the government will collapse, for sure. Yes, Mike, the writing is on the wall. Sadly, it is. I'm sorry to tell everybody, people would love to live in the Leave It to Beaver era and just say, this is wonderful, this is the way it is. No. That's not what's happening here in reality. People do not like reality. People hate the truth. Out of fear. They're afraid. When in fact you shouldn't be afraid. People have got to understand what's happening. And the select few will get it. And those who get it are supposed to get it. Not everybody's supposed to get it. Just so you know. Even Jesus says it in the Bible, basically. Right? Everybody likes to, tout out how religious they are and all the above and all these things. Well, I just shake my head anymore. And at times it's so frustrating, I just have to turn my head and walk away and say, you know what, Scott? Focus on what you're doing. Keep building MFA, get your sites, get this stuff done, build your media company, and bring more people on and educate more people, because it's very frustrating. I see it as clear as day. And that's why I'm very good at predicting things. And you cannot teach people how to be intelligent. You cannot. So many people are so brainwashed and so programmed that no matter what you show them, they'll never get it. And you know what? Oh well. They'll get it when there's, a fireball racing right up their ass down their street. Or, there's martial law and someone's knocking. Or they get deathly ill from a biological agent, a disease. Or a biological agent attack. There won't be any, just wait. You're going to see madness coming in 2018 of what we would consider madness of what we're used to. We've already seen a lot of madness this year alone. You've seen the biggest storms in history. Okay? You've seen mass exodus from Florida. You've seen Houston over 51 inches of biblical rain. You've seen the earthquakes on the planet just completely go up in volcanic eruptions, and they're going to continue and continue. We've had more solar blasts than like in record history. The magnetosphere is weakening. We're on the brink of war in tons of places. A lot of it's bullshit. We have terrorist attacks in the U.S. all the time now, like it's nothing. That's what they want. And people are still examining, is there muzzle flash here and muzzle flash there? And I'm no disrespect to people. A lot of these videos on the internet have already been either doctored or this or that. Some of them, is still very real. But you're all chasing rabbits. There was multiple shooters. Paddock did not shoot. There was no prints being, oh my God. And people make no sense when they listen to this 4chan stuff. Yeah, the prince was being rescued up from the Four Seasons, but then he decides to go to the Tropicana thereafter in his shorts and his t-shirt. And he's not even protected by any of his own personal security, which the prince cannot go anywhere without Saudi security, okay? Just so everybody knows that. And he would be surrounded by them, and I already know that's a security guard there. We all do. And it's just... Alexander, if you're watching Jake, any of you are watching Jake, he is lying through his teeth to all of you. And in my special show about who's telling the truth about Vegas and who's not, he's going to get blasted. Okay? The guy is making shit up and has been making shit up for I do not know how long. He doesn't like me because we bring out the truth with Vegas, and people don't like me. I'll stick to the stories. And then people go, well, your first part, what do people not understand about investigations? When you start an investigation, you only have so much information. You think of this theory. As you gain more evidence and or get shut down information that you have, prove it or disprove it, your theories and your facts, thus facts change, the theory changes as you investigate more. And I'm one of them. I want to see any of those investigators, Jake, all these people, talk to as many and invested as much money and time as I have in Vegas. Talking to witnesses, talking to victims, talking to deceased family members, employees. I can go down the line. People don't like the truth. Vegas is not some, great, big, difficult puzzle. Sorry to tell you. People just don't want to hear the truth. People don't want to hear the truth. This was a false flag. It was set up. It was hijacked. Paddock had nothing to do with it. ISIS claimed responsibility before the lone gunman even came out, just so you know. Okay? And you can Google it. ISIS Las Vegas attacks. It'll show up as shown on Associated Press and Reuters. ISIS does not claim responsibility for something it didn't do. And that's our own government, just so you know. So our CIA saw that. My point being, If you look at the truck attack on October 31st, 3 days went by. You have an ISIS poster child with a lone hero, just like you had in Vegas. Save the day. Da-da-da-da-da. October 1st was the beginning of the harvest. October 31st was the end of the fall harvest. Another attack. ISIS poster child on his computer, here, cell phone, everything. ISIS doesn't claim responsibility at all from its main sites, and it takes 3 days, and it claims responsibility in some newsletter. Okay? They would have been jumping from World Trade Center building on the top to say that they did that if ISIS was responsible for that. Pay attention. But they jumped right away at the shooting in Vegas. People keep bypassing this very key piece of information. Popped on Reuters, mainstream media avoided it. They were told to. Lone gunman, lone gunman, lone gunman, lone gunman, lone gunman. Hero saves the day. They both left a note. Okay, come on. And that note was supposedly found on its seat. My NYPD connection said no, it was found outside the truck. I reported that. Sure enough, they found it was outside near the truck. It wasn't on the seat. Okay? Come on. People amaze me. Yes, we live in the Matrix. Once you realize we live in the Matrix, you're about 100 steps ahead of the game. I mean, I don't know. It's very disheartening that people really don't get it. And many people live in their stress every day. Tons and tons and tons of stress over political crap, fear, everything. And that's the way the government and New World Order and thus Deep State wants you to live. Okay? Everything is Soros' fault. Everything is this one's fault. Everything is this. If we fix this, it'll make it all better. No, you're not going to get rid of the New World Order. You're not going to get rid of Deep State. I'm sorry to tell you. Trump's not getting rid of Deep State. No one's getting rid of Deep State, i.e. the shadow government. You want to call them Deep State, shadow government. Not getting rid of them. The only way to get rid of them and New World Order is for the people at the bottom of the pyramid, because they're very small at the top, is the bottom of the pyramid for the people to be educated and not feed into their shit. And when you don't feed into their shit, they can't control you or your family or your children or your future, so to speak, because that puts you in control. They don't want you in control. They want you living in fear. They want you following their programs. They want you doing all of the above. And people fall prey to it every day. And they still don't get it. Jess Alexander. Security guard saves the day before becoming a suspect himself. Patsy. Exactly. These are all common sense things. But people will argue about them over and over again. They'll even argue that there was tons of guns in Stephen Paddock's room. Somebody show me tons of guns in Stephen Paddock's room. You see any photos of tons of guns in Stephen Paddock's room? I mean, tons of guns. And tons of ammunition, as they said. You ever seen a picture of the explosives in his car? You ever seen receipts from the guns he allegedly bought in other states? Like you would normally see in a case? You see any ballistic reports? You see anything? Nada. Zero. Nada. Yet people will say and argue that, how did he get all those guns up there? They never brought any major guns up there except for the few guns that you saw in the stage pictures. There wasn't tons of guns upstairs. But people will argue that and they have no evidence of it whatsoever. Nada. Zero evidence. Except someone telling you that they were there. "9/11, same thing. 2 airplanes allegedly go into 2 of the largest buildings in New York. Steel, aluminum. No airplane parts really anywhere at all. Some landing gear 2 blocks away dropped in the middle of the street. And they found it while thereafter. But yet they find the passports laying on top of the debris when they're going through it of the alleged hijackers, all safe and good. The passports laying right there. And all the ash, soot, and everything else. But people will swear that there was airplanes there. You ever seen an airplane crash and an airplane hit a building? Pieces go everywhere. Newton's law, you understand? Steel, concrete building, aluminum plane. Plane, parts, wings get ripped off, shear, shit everywhere. Nose drops off, everything. But people will insist, but yet there's no proof of any plane parts anywhere. Where's the black boxes? Where's the black boxes? You ever heard of a plane not surviving a black box even from an explosion? No, black box survives. Why is there no black boxes? What happened to Building 7? Loaded with gold in the bottom, gone. Where's all the gold? One of the largest caches of gold and records in that building in the world. Gone. No, but we got Homeland Security. We got the Patriot Act. We got scanners in all the airports. We got the Iraqi war out of that. I can keep going. Yes, Alexander, I know everything that's going on the 32nd floor, okay? What is new that the 32nd floor in Mandalay Bay is on lockdown? They are building a wall at the end of the hallway. It should be done. They should probably be opening the 32nd floor back up this week coming, okay, within a week or so. Or maybe they'll work to the first of the year. They are building a wall and redoing that so that those two rooms don't exist anymore. So you'll never see them. No one can ever try to stay there in those rooms in Mandalay Bay. Of course they have security on the floor and no trespassing posted because people have been trying to get on the 32nd floor. I even went to the 32nd floor on Mandalay Bay and had a gun put in my face. Simple. What are you doing here? Sorry, wrong floor. And if any of you know, watch my shows. I stayed at Mandalay Bay. I was set to stay at Four Seasons, but that's my next adventure. Okay, because people need to see the truth about Four Seasons and this alleged situation, where, oh my God, the stories about Four Seasons and the Prince and this madness is just like, whew, all from 4chan. All from 4chan and Anon and the rest of this shit. Like there's something that they're hiding so bad on the 32nd floor. No, they're doing construction and they don't want a bunch of fucking nosy people up there trying to get on the 32nd floor to see what they can find. Can they find a bullet hole here? Can they do this? Can they do that? No, they're losing a lot of money on the 32nd floor. And by not having it rented out, daily used, paid out, hotel rooms. And no, the Prince doesn't own the 32nd floor in Mandalay Bay, as been told by other people. Okay? It's like, where do you get your fact? These people get their shit off Anon and 4chan and these crazy YouTubers that come up with this shit to get clickbait. I mean, come on. Common sense. If people had more common sense, this planet would be a much safer place and much more honest information out there. Who controls the internet? You know who the creator is of the internet? Does everybody know? The creator of the internet is a gentleman involved in CERN. 666 is the internet. Okay, and the loops for CERN symbol is 6, 6, and then another 6 for CERN. Okay? He created the internet. So people go, oh my God, look, I found a link that goes from this company to that company to this company to Ty Paddock into this and that and this and that and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, okay. You're only finding something that they want you to find. They're only putting the seeds there that they want you to put. Now, if you investigated Stephen Paddock before this matter happened, then you would see most of that shit didn't even exist. Paddock was created on the internet. Understand this. Then he was this company. Yes, sure. Was he a CIA pilot? Yep. Was he running guns? Yep. Was he there to sell guns to the Saudis to assassinate the prince? No. No. No, common sense are not so common. Tim, just so you know, the plane can't disintegrate upon contact. If you understand physics. Okay? The plane cannot disintegrate hitting a steel concrete building on impact. Doesn't work that way, even if it's full of fuel. I'll show you something quickly. Hang on. Plane crash pics. I'm going to show you something. You know, Pennsylvania, there was a black hole in the ground where they allegedly the plane got shot down, right? Just a black hole. No parts anywhere, no nothing. Just a black hole. If a plane gets shot down out of the sky and he lands in the woods, in the middle of nowhere, okay? Let me open up some of these pictures because it'll be a lot easier. Let me just do it that way. Hang on. Give me a sec. So I can go through them. This is, this is a burning plane. I'm just using that as an example. Here's one. Complete. Look at this. Military plane says this is a KC-130. Let me zoom in on that because so you can see what I'm talking about. You don't end up with a big black hole and nothing there like you saw in Pennsylvania. You end up with this. You end up with pieces all over the place and proof that there was a plane there. Okay? They said it burnt. Yeah, okay. They said it burnt. Just so you know, when all that metal and everything burns, you still have it all melted and all there. Nothing there in the hole. No parts strewn anywhere, nothing. All right? This is what a plane crash looks like. There was nothing left at all. Nada, zero. Not even a rivet. Not even a rivet. Not even a rivet. But people will go, oh my God. Oh my God. No, not. I'm looking for one that show you can see what happens when it hits a building. Because physics do not allow what you saw happen at the Twin Towers. Because two planes did not hit the building. Every plane crash I'm looking at here there's parts and shit everywhere. Nada. When it came to Pennsylvania. Not at the World Trade Center. Look at this one even. Holy Christ. Military plane crashes. It's a massive crash. Even when they're blown up over the ocean. Parts and shit everywhere. Look at this one. My point being, it's all bullshit. And people will insist and believe and believe and believe this garbage no matter what. No matter what. Let's find plane crash pics into a building. Okay. Speaking of which, what pops up? Look. The Pentagon. That's an apartment building. You can see the plane. and its parts right through the middle here. You can see it all. We had none of that at the Pentagon. Here's a small plane hitting a building. Okay? That's physics. That's Newton's law. Building, aluminum plate. No. Capiche? Here's another one. Cargo plane, Kenya. Texas man flies plane into IRS building. Yeah, remember this one? Okay. Physics does not allow the plane to just nothing, nada, zero. Check this out. This is July 28th, 1945. Plane crashes into the Empire State Building. Okay? This is from 1945, Empire State Building. Okay? You see this? And the plane didn't end up in the building, just so you know, it's down. It dropped. Okay? Didn't end up in the building. Look at the concrete and steel there with a plane hitting it. Okay? It doesn't work that way. I should do a whole show on 9/11. I've got some really good evidence about 9/11, and there's some really good people that put that shit out there. Denver Post again. 1945. Crashed into the Empire State Building. Empire State Building, 1945. If you notice, the broadcasts on 9/11 from all news channels went black at the same time. They went black at the same time. I'll have to do a whole show, and I will do a strict show on it. I will not, answer questions during it. Yep. Notice here, there's nothing. There's nada. No parts, nada, zero, zippo, nothing. Zip, nothing. It just cut through the whole floor perfectly and just went in there. Michael, that's a very good idea. Take a cigar tube and try to smash it into your drywall. Very well said. I mean, there's so many plane crashes you can look at, and you can see the this is a real plane that hit this. And even top pilots who flew those type of jets said there's no way that these two whack jobs could have, because there is no two whack jobs, that could have flew these two planes into the Twin Towers as precise as they did. What you saw live, okay, was that the TVs went for a second and then went back on all news channels. Just so you know, all news channels at the same time. And then it came out, and it was thump through. Yes, there's so many, Matt, just like with Vegas, 9/11, same thing, okay? There's so much bullshit out there, it's pathetic. Yes, Jackie, it was definitely a hologram. And they had the sounds of planes. Yes, Jen, you saw it on TV. No planes hit those towers. No planes hit the Pentagon. No plane was shot out of the sky in Pennsylvania. People want to talk about real hoaxes? That's a hoax. Pennsylvania plane, Pentagon plane, hoax. False flag. And when I say a hoax, there was no plane that hit that Pentagon. But people will believe what they want to believe. Yes, Tedford, very well said. Real planes and bodies destroyed in Israel. That was a Mossad, Saudi, and CIA operation, just like Vegas was. That's why, and I'm not talking about the Paddock part, okay? Paddock became the patsy because this thing went south, okay? And they did not want this to be, this would have stopped people going to Vegas. ISIS terrorist cell, in the United States, largest mass shooting in U.S. history, blah, blah, blah. Other terrorists in other hotels, big thing going on. People would not be returning to Vegas, not many, for a long time. No, people really die in false flags. That's why I don't understand when people really die in false flags. The hoax part is about the plane. Nancy, the world's only a stage to brainwash you if you allow it to be. Okay? No, Lisa, the video time travel video is not over. I will put the link up under this show when I'm done. People are only brainwashed if you allow them to brainwash you. That's why I said the key to survival is knowing what's real and what's not real, what's true and what's fake. That's the first key to survival. How to discern what's real and what's not real, what to listen to, what not to listen to. Many people heard the plane on the ground. I'm from New York. My cousin and other family members work for the New York Fire Department and NYPD. A lot of people in the fire department even lost their job because they came out, even captains and things came out to tell the truth of what they know about the 9/11 attacks. And everybody says the same thing. That was there on the ground. The buildings came down from the ground. That's a controlled detonation. I've been in building for 30 years. It's very simple. Yeah, people are going to jump all right. The buildings got hit, but they didn't get hit with planes. I'm telling you, there'd be pieces everywhere. Everywhere. Black boxes, people everywhere. Listen, it's not... I'll do a whole show on it and show you, and there's some very good people who have done some very serious 3D and renderings of what took place and how it happened, and some serious videos to show you what really hit the towers. Yes, Philadelphia experiment, very good. The time traveler... Yes, the buildings were blown. Building 7 was blown, and they had been wired up for some time. I mean, they took a lot of time to wire these buildings. I'm telling you now, because you're not pancaking those buildings, and top engineers agree. You're not pancaking those buildings. I'm sorry to tell you. Yes, I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of Giuliani's mouth. Rudy Giuliani and the crew. That's all I'll say. But, like I said, people will believe what they want to believe instead of believing what's real. Now people go, I need more hard evidence. Just so you know, the owners of the Twin Towers just collected another $97 million. I was going to share the article with you guys. Another $97 million. Okay? Silverstein. I know Silverstein. Liz, they took their time over a period of time to set detonation and wire those buildings for detonation. It's real simple. They took their time. They did it, went in there, drilled their holes, put their things in, put their explosives where they had to over a period of time. Done simple. Go in and then put everything into effect. It's not, For what, Sherry? How did we get into Iraq? Where did we get the Patriot Act from that controls almost everything that we do today? Where did we get Homeland Security? Where did we get scanners? For what? For more control and more fear and to create the terrorism. Create terrorists have hit the United States. We go after Iraq. What has Iraq got to do with, what does Saddam Hussein have to do with 9/11? Nada, zero. Okay? It's all part of a big plan. Bin Laden was created, friends with the Bush family. Bin Laden's still alive, per Snowden, and what I've always believed, he's still alive. Fully believe it. We create the bad guys. No bad guys, no control, no money, no great industrial complex, no fear, no new laws, no more control. They're listening to all our conversations from all of that. Airport security, Homeland Security. We never had Homeland Security before 9/11. They rechanged all of that whole grouping, created Homeland Security, and then grouped Coast Guard, everybody together in this whole group. Okay? I mean, people say for what? Control. People can talk like that this is some, this takes a lot of planning. This shadow government, New World Orders, people and groups and families and the powers that be, this takes a lot of planning, and they do it on a daily basis, and they're way ahead of the game. No, Tim, I don't think they put in any bombs while they were building it. I don't believe that at all. From the information I have and people that were around, and this was pre-wired before. And it makes sense when you talk to certain individuals from New York City authorities, people who worked at the Twin Towers, things of that nature. It says it all from the owners and what the owner Silverstein did 1 month prior to these towers coming down. He already knew. So this is what I'm telling you. Just like MGM knew, here, pay attention. Silverstein, who owned the towers, changed their insurance policy and other things on the buildings 30 days before. Okay? In this false flag event. MGM CEO, okay? And including Soros, prior to the Vegas shootings, sold off 80%. The CEO sold off 80% of his stock just prior, and he's the owner of MGM, and one of his hotels this was affected by, right? Just like Silverstein, who owned the towers. And he tried to collect twice on that. MGM's collecting on its stock Soros buys the put, gets paid immediately, gambling that the stock's going to drop. Same thing with the tower. Silverstein already knew. The CEOs and the players involved already knew. That's their payday. That's the government's, hey, listen, this is going to happen. You got to go along with this. This is how it's going to be. Take it or leave it. Pay attention. Same thing with Silverstein. How do you keep Silverstein quiet when you're using the 9/11? How would he know that there was going to be a terrorist attack 30 days before to change his insurance policy on the towers? I mean, that's all the evidence that you need. How did MGM know to sell off all its stock? The CEO sell. Why would the CEO sell off all 80% of his stock and then stop selling right before this incident happened, where he's got 80% of it sold right before the incident happens? And you don't think the attack was planned and he knew about it? Just like Silverstein, who owned the towers. I mean, I don't know. You don't even, if that doesn't, listen, if A doesn't equal B, then the whole thing's shot. That's it. How did Soros know to buy a put out of all the stuff that he did for MGM stock? How did he know it was going to drop? I mean, that's why people say, oh my God, pay attention. Those are no coincidences. There's no such thing as a coincidence, by the way. Yes, Tammy, he did. Adelson majorly ties in. Adelson's a bad guy, and he went and saw Trump right after this, okay, on that Monday. That's right, Vicky, because there really were no terrorist attacks before 9/11, okay? Yes, Tammy, a CEO cannot keep 80% of his stock sold because he relinquishes his control. How a CEO controls control is by his stock. Too many people listen to too many BS stories all over the internet when it's really simple stuff to prove the truth. Okay? What do you think was up with the published hour-and-a-half call between Trump and Putin? Nothing. It's propaganda. It's bullshit. No, you're not going to see Moran anywhere. I have people in his office. You're kidding, right? I've gotten information from inside MGM, and I've shown it. I was the one that got Jesus Campos' picture screen of his own employment inside MGM. Alex Jones showed it. Everybody showed it. Okay? Oh, I don't have any sources. I stole that. Yeah, okay. Where am I going to steal it from? It was given to me directly from inside MGM source. I know what goes on up there. Yeah, I don't even want to discuss any of these people anymore. People listen, you want to buy into Alex Jones and his bullshit and whatever else, go right ahead. I don't care. You want the real truth? Come to me. Okay? I'll give it to you. You don't like it? I don't care. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you. That's it. It's real simple. It's not complicated. And that's it. End of story. Now, it's late. It's 1:41. I got to take care of some stuff as well, and I have to get up early. Good night, guys. And as I said, it's already 1:41. And I'm not putting the show up public because I'm upset with the show, and I'm going to be shutting off comments from now on. I'll see them say hello in the beginning, but then they're going off because I'm going to do my shows because I put these shows up public as well. And I'd also like to not be interrupted and be able to put information out there. If you don't want to listen, that's your choice. Don't come back and ask me the same questions over and over again because I'm not answering them. Okay? And if you think that's me being an asshole, sorry, it's not. People really should pay attention and listen to what's going on around them. So you won't wake up one day soon and go, oh shit. Okay? And it's because I give a shit. If I didn't give a shit, you think I'd be getting upset and wasting my time? No, I wouldn't. Brian, any stock information you have by any holder is public information on NASDAQ. Just so you know. All sales, shares, everything. You want to know what MGM CEO sold? Just go look it up. It's very simple. What he bought, what he sold, what he didn't. And I know exactly what he's doing. He's waiting for MGM stock to rise, to go up again, and it will. And then he already made a ton of money. He sold low, buys high. He even talked about it in Forbes magazine. Pay attention. 30 days before this, there's a Forbes article that he did talking about, it would be great if someone experimented at selling high and then buying back low. It's in Forbes. Google Forbes, Moran, MGM. Okay, you'll find the article. I've posted a shot of that article way back on the video a long time ago, and even a post on Facebook. He talked about what it would be like to do this, okay, in Forbes. No CEO. Do people understand how CEOs maintain control of their companies? It's by the amount of stock that they own. It's not just a piece of paper. You have to have the stock. Yes, Lynn, just called insider trading for someone else. That's correct. If I would have done that, you would have done that, any of us would have done that, they would have locked us the fuck up. Okay? And they'd be investigating it everywhere. Same thing with Silverstein and World Trade Centers. How did you know that you needed to change the insurance on your building for terrorist attacks by plane? How did you know that, Mr. Silverstein? Coincidence? No. And now you want to collect on both buildings? He's collected billions on the trade centers. He just got another $97 million, just so you know. You can Google it. Silverstein Trade Center, $97 million payout. It was like 2 days ago, a few days ago. Silverstein didn't pull Building 7. Building 7 was an original target with all of this. Building 7 held some very, very, very important records, as well as the basement. It's one of the largest vaults in New York City. Was full of gold that is gone. No one's even brought up the gold thereafter, except for some YouTubers and the like. Where did all the gold go? And the records are forever destroyed that they wanted to get destroyed. I mean, even having to explain this is getting frustrating for me. You want to know why? Because it shouldn't even be. I'm going to say it again. If one part of the story doesn't fit, how do you shove a square peg in a round hole to the rest of the story if the first part of the story doesn't fit? And this is what people like to do. They like to take, well, all of this fits, but this doesn't, but we'll accept this. No, all pieces must fit. Circle, peg, insert round hole. Square peg, round hole doesn't fit, doesn't work. And this is where people go wrong. You can't have parts of it work and the rest of it not work in the story, and thus the facts. It doesn't work that way. But people want to believe and put these pieces in partial together instead of all of the pieces. And if all of the pieces don't fit, well, I don't know. The answer doesn't even have to be said. If all the pieces don't fit, well then, and then people want to believe a lot of these shows. We'll give you an example of what asshole puts out on, what's his name? He makes this shit up. Mercenaries coming in. He has a book with Blackwater. He made all that shit up. The guy's got an imagination. The guy shouldn't be making videos and trying to be an investigative journalist. He should be a fucking book writer and a movie writer. This guy's got an imagination trying to get his bills paid on the internet. For sure. And he'll just throw that shit out. It's even about me. I'm an FBI informant. I'm this and that. All I'm going to tell you, the guy's lucky. I'm a nice guy. Okay? I'll legally crush him. I don't want to have to be, but I have no choice. The guy doesn't want to shut the fuck up. Vicky, they create the cover-up stories, i.e. the other conspiracy theories, flood the internet with them, so that people get so confused that they give up. They don't care anymore. They're like, okay, whatever. We'll never know the truth. Fuck it. We want this. It's not going to happen. That's exactly what they do. How do you cover the truth? Just make up tons of other stories, fake stories, and put out information like on 4chan and Anon and the like that people will bite into and go, nope, 4chan, nope, that's it. The prince was up there. The prince wasn't even in fucking Las Vegas. But they'll believe it. They'll believe it. Jake, full of shit. If you believe anything that guy says, you got to be out of your mind. And I'm not saying that. I don't care if the guy didn't even talk to me. I would be calling him out as fake because he's fake. That dude is fake. Fake. Up there with Laura Luna and the rest of them. Luna and the rest. But Jake is really fake. Jake makes shit up in his sleep. Okay? Because the guy's broke. The guy needs everything he can, and he makes his money off YouTube. So he'll make up any scenario. Notice he's just like stuck on Vegas. How many more stories are you going to make up about Vegas, Jake? Can't wait to hear them. Move on to something else, my man. Start bullshitting about something else because you're tapping the Vegas situation dry with your fucking stories. Yes, Mike, the CIA has been doing this for decades. That's correct. I don't even understand. People go, the U.S. is not responsible for false flags. I hear them on Twitter. What? Gulf of Tonkin. Hitler, we knew Hitler staged a false flag with Poland to start World War II. You're kidding, right? We also let Pearl Harbor happen. We knew that was coming as well. Don't kid yourself. No war, no money, no military-industrial complex, no fear, no control. I just don't know. It gets frustrating more and more every day. Because I see it as clear as day, and I try to explain it to people, and you could show people, and I'm not pointing this directly at everyone here or anyone here. I'm saying in general. You could show people the truth, and I'm going to say it again. If all the pieces don't fit, and one of the pegs isn't round going into the round hole, and it's square and it doesn't fit, the story's bullshit. It's bullshit. Dan, very well said. False flags are the manufacture of consent. Bravo. Very, very well said. False flags are for the manufacture of consent. Bravo, my man. Very well said. We live in one of the safest countries in the world. Probably the safest country in the world. And you just think that our government doesn't know? They can see an ant taking a shit on an anthill. You don't think that they didn't know what was going to go on in Las Vegas? You don't think that they planned that? Okay. You didn't think that they didn't know what was going on 9/11? You got to be kidding me, right? Yes, Australia's the same way. Australia's a product of that, and look where Australia is. Australia's in deep trouble. Nobody's got guns. The bad guys kept all their guns. Murder rates are up there. Very socialistic, controlled society, and it's China. Australia's become China and the United States is best, but mainly China's like, shitting spot. Okay? Africa's the new continent that we're going to be really battling on very soon as well. China just put in a massive base there. We're doing the same. Watch what happens. Africa, the continent, is going to be like trashed. Oh yeah, JFK. Let's not forget JFK. The list goes on and on. Timothy McVeigh. I ask you is to use your brain. Common sense. If it smells like shit, it is shit. And if the pegs, if they're round, if they're square and they don't fit in a round hole, same thing. And you're going to see more and more. This week, I'm going to end this with this. I'm sensing by Sunday something big is going to happen here. And it's not going to be, it's not good. And from what I'm told, this Trump situation is going to heat up by Friday, the latest. Okay? So that means I'm telling you there's a big distraction coming. Huge. And if it does happen the way I believe it is, it's going to fit into my information, and then I'm going to show you something. If it happens this week, like I believe it's going to happen, like it has every time something has come out, right before or right after having to do with Trump, Russia, and somebody's indicted or new information comes out, big stories, bombshells, boom, major distraction in the United States. Major change. Boom. Okay? In many different areas, just to change the dialogue. And we'll see this time. If it happens this time, then I can show you the pattern. And I fully believe it will happen this time. Very well said, Larry. Common sense is a fruit that doesn't grow on everyone's tree. That's my whole point. People can, it's like going on Google. You could read something on Google and then go, no, wait a second. That doesn't fit right with that person or the situation or whatever. And then you go and do some more homework and then you really find out the truth. And you're like, for real? Come on. I mean, people think if they see it or read it, that it's true. Or they think if they watch a video on YouTube from some unknown person or even some known person that they've never met before, you've never seen their face, but they have a channel and they got tons of followers and no one's ever seen them, but they hear their voice, but see videos. You know how many doctored videos of Vegas are going around? And people are still milking that cow dry. Vegas. New Vegas theory. New Vegas this. Jake is one of them. Okay? Very well said, Vicky. Don't use a hammer on a round peg for a square hole either. Exactly. Yes, Liz. Economic refugees, Muslims. Yes, Australia as well. Canada is being flooded as we speak. Trudeau's cut a deal with Soros at all. 300,000 refugees plus a year going in. The refugees get registered, right? They work, and then they don't collect their taxes, just so you know. Okay, they don't collect their Social Security. They don't collect any of it. Why do you think they're moving in refugees? Economic. Pay attention. Beefing up the economy. People like to claim that they do research and people have vetted this, like even me. Oh, people have vetted me. Yeah, okay. Listen. If you're going to do research and investigation, you better learn and know how to dig deep, not use some fucking online background checking company and da-da-da-da-da. Okay? You need to know where to go and where to get the information. And trust me, the real true information is there, but you got to dig. Yes, Michael, that is true. They are doing what they said they would do. Outbreed us, basically. Yes, Deborah, a lot of people don't do research. All right, guys, good night. You know I could talk all night, and I don't want to do that. Vicky, very not well said. I read The Late Great Planet Earth back in 1970 on Bible prophecy. It scared me to death at first, but soon discovered you cannot change a thing by worrying. That's correct. Just prepare and be watchful of things going on in the world. Amen. Very well said, Vicky. Very, very well said. Be prepared. And knowledge is power. Understanding what's real and what's not real is a key to survival. All right, guys. Good night. God bless. Much love to you all. Good night, Larry. My best to you and your family. Good night, Debbie.